We attempted to transport one of them with a helicopter, but due to weather, we weren't able to get a helicopter to come in.
2 people are in the hospital recovering from an explosion at a wood supply plant. The investigation into what exactly happened, what's been damaged, remains underway. Colton Molesky live for us just outside this business now with everything, Colton, we know right now.
Brian, the explosion at Holmes Custom Molding right here behind me burned 6 people. And a fire official tells me that crews were working for 5 hours to make sure everything was put out.
The explosion was significant enough that it blew out garage doors and even blew a wall off the foundation.
Just before 1 Tuesday afternoon, things spiraled out of control quickly at Holmes Custom Molding. An explosion rocking the building.
It started from a belt sander that had malfunctioned and throwing sparks into the dust collection system.
East Holmes Fire Chief John Schleba says when those sparks reached the outside dustbin, an explosion was triggered. In total, 3 agencies responded to the business just outside Berlin, an hour south of Akron. Crews worked hours to ensure all sparks and hot spots along the ventilation system were out.
We had several volunteers working across the street, so they were there at 12:44. So a minute later, they were already on scene.
The chief tells me he is meeting with insurance today to get an idea of the damage from the explosion and finish the fire report.
It was a significant explosion.
Now, the fire chief says that 4 of the 6 people burned have been discharged. I did talk with the business to see if they'd be interested in an interview, but they declined while the investigation continues. I also looked the business up on OSHA's website and did not find any previous violations. In Berlin, Colton Molesky, 19 News.